Students, this is the help video for the exit ticket 5.3 that you will find on Alex. We're going to do a couple problems together. So it says a right triangle has side lengths of 5, 12, and 13. So we have the 5, the 12, and the 13. It wants you to find the cosine of L, the tangent of L, and the sine of L. Now, these are the ratios. So if it wants the cosine of angle L, okay, it is asking for the adjacent over the hypo because it is ka. If it wants the tangent of L, it wants the opposite over the adjacent because of OA, TOA. If it wants the sine of L, it wants the opposite over the hypo. So this is what you do. And it wants the side lengths, use the lengths to find these ratios, and it's literally just the fractions, folks. You don't even have to get it down to a decimal. So for example, your adjacent here is going to be adjacent to L is right there, your opposite is right there, and your hypo is right there. So adjacent over hypo, that's going to be 12 over 13. Ta-da, you're done. Literally, that's it. Your opposite is going to be 5 over your adjacent, which is 12. And your sine is your opposite, which is 5, and your hypo, which is 13. And that's all it wants, is those ratios, which is code for fraction. Solve for x. Round your answer to the nearest 10th place. Remember, 10th place is the first decimal. So we start by labeling opposite, adjacent, and hypo. This x here would be the opposite. Here's your hypo. And here's your adjacent. So have, need, do. We have the hypo. We need the opposite. So what do? We have an OH combo. What goes with OH? Sine. So we do sine of theta over 1 equals opposite over hypo. Always write the equation. Now, sine of theta, our theta is 59 degrees over 1 equals opposite, which is x, over hypo, which is 20. Do not touch your calculator until x is by itself. So we cross multiply, and we get x equals sine of 59, parentheses, times 20. Your x is now by itself. Don't touch a calculator until x is by itself. Now we're doing sine of 59 times 20. If you have the large screen calculator, you need to make sure you get it in degree mode. So right here, mode, down, down, over, enter, clear. So it is the sine of 59 times 20. So I do sine 59, enter, times 20, enter. Rounding to that first decimal place. Okay, sorry, didn't show the sine 59, parentheses, enter, times 20, enter. That's 17. First decimal would be 0.1. That's a similar style there. 4 says solve, which means you're going to be solving for more than one thing. It's going to ask you for 3 things. So first off, it's going to ask you for probably this angle. So you're going to want to find that angle. If that's 90, that's 50. To solve for angle B, that's simply going to be 90 minus 50, and you get 40 degrees. 40 degrees. So it's going to ask you for the measure of an angle. Okay, it'll look like this, measure of angle B. And have a blank, and in this case it's 40. So that's an easy one. Now, if we were to solve for B, you have to choose an angle to work with. I'm going to work with the angle that we originally started with, which is 50, which would make B the adjacent, 13 the opposite, and C the hypo. It's going to want you to solve for 2 sides, in this case, B and C. So going for B first, have, need, do. We have, if we're going for B, we have the opposite. We need the adjacent. What are we going to do? We're going to do tangent. So tan of theta over 1 equals opposite over adjacent. Circle, plug, chug. Our theta here, we're using 50, so tan of 50 degrees over 1 equals opposite, which is 13, over adjacent, which is our B. Cross multiply. Tan of 50 times B equals 13. Don't touch the calculator until your variable is by itself. So we're dividing by the tan of 50. So we get our B here is going to be 13 divided by the tan of 50. And 13 divided by the tan of 50 degrees. Enter. Round it to the tens place, so that's 10.9. That would be B. C, we were to go this way. C, I have the opposite. I need the hypo. I have an OH combo, so that's sine. I do. Sine of theta over 1 equals opposite, which is opposite over hypo. So it is right here, sine of 50 degrees over 1 equals opposite, which is 13, over hypo, which is our C. Cross multiply. Sine of 50 times C equals 13. I have C equals 13 divided by the sine of 50. So I have 13 divided by sine of 50. End up with, and I'm rounding. This is where it's tricky. It says round to the tenths place, but it's 16.97. So if we look at our answers here, we round up because that 9 rounds up to 17. So be very careful with where you round on Alex, or it's going to make you go around again and again and again. 16.97. And if we round to the tenths place, which is there, it bumps this up to 17.